Just a quick forewarning, everybody. I got a new camera last week with no microphone port whatsoever, so I've had to find another way to record audio on my lav mic, and because of that, the input volume is a bit off in places, so many apologies for that, and I'll try to get it sorted for future videos. Hope you enjoyed this Q&A special anyway, and thank you for watching.
Hey folks, and welcome to the 2,500 subscriber Q&A special. Wow, it's really weird to think that I've actually gotten that many, and I really can't thank you guys enough for all the support you've given me throughout the past 9 years. 9 years! Man, we're almost at the 10-year mark. I don't even know what I'm gonna do for the 10-year anniversary, but let's worry about that later. But so for now, let's take a look at some of the questions you guys have provided for me. I've had some pretty interesting ones, I have to say. First up is one from Ariel Popper L, or Popper L. I apologize if I mispronounced that. And she asks, what's your favorite retro game? I guess it would all depend on what you would classify as retro, because I didn't own a Super Nintendo or NES. I wasn't even born when the NES came out. I also didn't own the Nintendo 64 or any of the Sega consoles, so it's a bit of a tough one to do there. So I'm just gonna basically name all of my favorite games from some of the retro consoles. As I said, I didn't own any Sega ones, so I won't be saying stuff like Sonic the Hedgehog or Sunset Riders or Outrun, just those games. So it's primarily Nintendo and PlayStation. So for the NES, very popular opinion, but I would probably go with Super Mario Bros. 3. For the Super Nintendo, man, it would have to be Super Metroid. I don't think it would be any other game apart from that. For the Nintendo 64, that's a tricky one, because not a lot of the games have aged particularly well, even the great ones like Super Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie, both of which are very fun games to play still to this day, but yeah, it has a little bit of a stiffness to it, especially when you're using an original N64 controller. So I would probably go with either Super Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie as the greatest N64 game. Although Majora's Mask was really good as well, so I don't know, that's kind of a tough decision. I think I'll just go with Zelda Majora's Mask on that end. For the GameCube, I would probably say either Metroid Prime or Super Smash Bros. Melee, both of which are very, very fun games to play, especially Melee, because I spent so many hours on that. At the time, when I first got that, that was my favorite game of all time before Persona 5 came into the mix, so yeah, I've had a lot of fond memories with both of them, but yeah, I can't really decide which of those two I like more. They're both very different games. For the PlayStation 1, I'm not sure about that one either, because like the Nintendo 64, not a lot of the games have aged well to this day. So I would maybe go with the first Metal Gear Solid, just because it's got very simple mechanics to work with, and the cutscenes are still pretty good to look at, and also Liquid Snake is great. He's so deliciously over the top, and the story is also one of the more simple ones in the series, and it was absolutely revolutionary for its time as well, so I'll definitely give it to that. For the PlayStation 2, ooh, that's a really hard one, because I've had so many memories with so many PlayStation 2 games. Oh man, Ape Escape 2, God of War, let's see, Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, Jak and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Oh, my siblings and I would play that one a lot. And Katamari Damacy as well. There's just too many to choose. Oh, man. I think in terms of the one I probably enjoyed the most, the ones I had the most fond memories of, and the one I would go back to time and time again, spend hours upon hours on it, I think that would probably have to go to Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal. That one is still the best game in the series, bar none. I love the chaos, and the weapons are really cool in that, and the arenas are pretty neat as well. That has the best arena missions, apart from the Corktastic Challenge, which can just, you know. But yeah, Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal, that is my all-time favorite PS2 game. And finally, for the original Xbox, I would give that to Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. I know that one's not really Xbox exclusive, but it was one of the first Xbox games that we owned, and it was also one of the first games I personally owned when my family and I moved to England. Because of that, I would spend hours upon hours. I would keep replaying the game. It's a very short game, like around 6 hours, but I would still come back to it time and time again, and eventually I loved it so much that I would get Warrior Within with my pocket change, and then after some time trudging through that, I would get the Two Thrones, which was, I believe, was brand new when I first got that, so that was also pretty great. But none of those Prince of Persia games came close to the Sands of Time. I love the climbing and the platforming and the wall jumping. It was one of the greatest 3D platformers I had played at that time, and I still enjoy it. I haven't played it for I think since the PS3 trilogy came out. But yeah, I would love to do a review on the Prince of Persia games at some point. I'm not sure about the original 2D side-scroller, but definitely the 3D games at some point. Right, so moving on to the next question. This one's from If It's Too Hard, Go Play Mystic Quest. He asks, why are you so cute? I don't know, you tell me. And if you could live in any JRPG world, which would it be and why? That's a pretty interesting question. I never actually thought about that. But yeah, if I had to choose, I would definitely say Yasuo Inaba from Persona 4, which may surprise some people, given how much I've praised Persona 5 and its world and its characters. But yeah, I've always been more of a country boy than a city boy, and I think if I were to actually live in Shibuya, then that would be pretty damn stressful for me. So I would prefer the nice, calm nature to in Yasuo Inaba that I can get there. Minus the TV murders. But seeing as how that may not technically count since it's Japan, I would then probably say the Bionis from Xenoblade Chronicles 1, just because of its absolutely luscious environments. Oh, it can be absolutely beautiful sometimes. Although I imagine going to somewhere like a convenience store could take maybe half an hour. Asia Extreme Infinity asks, don't you wish many of these multiplayer exclusive games like MMORPGs, MOBAs, Battle Royales, etc. would have single-player spin-offs? I'm pretty sure Fortnite has some single-player in there, doesn't it? There's like a whole campaign that you can go through with animated cutscenes, but I guess that one's the one exception. But I would like for MOBAs and MMORPGs like World of Warcraft to have like a single-player campaign, but I think even if it did have one, then it wouldn't be my first choice of game to play. I would most likely just stick with the multiplayer and just maybe get a group together. But generally, I don't tend to play online multiplayer stuff anyway, just because I can't really stand some of the people online, to be honest. But yeah, if any of you guys wanted to play with me, then I'd be more than happy to. But yeah, just with random strangers that are probably just like maybe 12 years old with crappy parenting, then no thank you. But for the single player stuff, yeah, I'd maybe do it. Multimedia Assassin asks, how would you feel if Samsung, LG, Lenovo, Huawei, Asus, and other electronic companies made their own gaming consoles? They could probably try, but I don't think they would win against the competition. These days, you only have maybe 3 or 4 consoles to choose from. PCs, PS4, also PS5 coming out, the Xbox One, and yeah, the Switch. So that's pretty much all we have. And yeah, they've pretty much dominated the video game market. So I think if any of those other companies were to even try, they would not meet sales. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, they would have had a chance against all the other consoles, but it's just sort of like be a diamond in the rough. But nowadays, I don't think that's going to work out. Joy Collier, I apologize if I mispronounced that, asks, do you watch anime? I do, but only if it particularly interests me. I'm only what you would call a casual anime fan. I'm not that hardcore into it. So I've only seen maybe a few animes here and there. So I used to watch the Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime when I was a kid. But yeah, that fad sort of went away after a while. I know people still watch those shows, but I stopped watching long ago. And I didn't really properly get into anime until I watched Death Note, which my ex-girlfriend introduced to me. I absolutely loved that. It was a very ingenious story. The dialogue was a bit hokey, not perfect, but it was a very, very interesting setup, and the characters were interesting and likable. Okay, maybe not Light Yagami, because he's kind of he's sort of an I don't know what you would call him. It's not either a villain or an anti-hero, however you want to see Kira as. But yeah, I really love that, and I binged through the entire thing with my ex at the time. Thus, that would introduce me to other animes like Black Butler, Full Metal Alchemist, and Chobits, which is a bit more obscure, and it's incredibly cheesy, but I highly enjoy that one. And eventually, I would try out the Studio Ghibli films with my girlfriend Hannah. So that would include like My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, and of course Spirited Away, all of which I quite enjoyed. I would say maybe Totoro or Kiki's Delivery Service was better than Spirited Away. Oh, and I also watched Princess Mononoke, which was okay. It wasn't my kind of thing. Sword Art Online, of course, is a popular one. I haven't watched the third season or the movie yet, but I enjoyed the first two seasons, even though it did drag on a little bit. In terms of the more recent animes I've watched, I've seen Ancient Magus Bride, at least the first season anyway. That was pretty enjoyable. And there was also Erase, which was a very, very good anime, though the ending absolutely sucked. I watched Your Name, which was very entertaining, and about a month or two ago I went to see Weathering with You in theaters, which was the first time I ever watched an anime on the big screen, and that was a different experience, I have to say, compared to watching just a normal movie. But that was also very good. And currently I'm going my way through Carolyn Tuesday. I'm just on the second season now. It's an okay anime. It passes the time, but it's not a masterpiece by any means, I have to say. Christian Hristov says, while I love your videos, I do believe that you should cover games that are less known to people. This way the title Trash or Treasure will make more sense. Pretty much all the games you talk about are treasure. Before I even click the play button, I know it's a great game, so the curiosity is already gone. Will you cover more obscure titles in the future that likely most people don't know about? Well, I am covering Katamari Damacy next, so I don't know if that would be obscure enough. It might not be, it may do. I have done bad games in the past as well, like Legend of Korra, and in my opinion, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutants of Manhattan. There just may be some games that I don't necessarily clarify as trash or treasure, because I don't really tend to do a scale or a score system anymore. And then there are also games that I don't necessarily think are trash, but I don't necessarily see them as treasure either, like Persona 3. A good game in its own right, but it has a ton of problems. And if you really want me to do a bad game, then wait until I do Shenmue 1. But yeah, I will always try and vary my reviews a bit, talk about games that are both good and bad, or just plain mediocre, or just somewhere in the middle. I don't know. It just depends on what games come out at the time, and what games are available to me when I have nothing to play, or at least nothing new to play. Supersonic93 asks, have you heard of the PS3 anime crossover 2D fighting game Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax? It has 14 playable characters from the following Dengeki Bunko anime light novel series plus 2 Sega games. Oh, Christ. I'm not gonna bother trying to pronounce all that. Sad to say, I haven't heard of this 2D fighting game or any of the games that you've put on the list here. I definitely know Sword Art Online, at least. Virtua Fighter, of course, I played that with my dad and my brother all the time. And Valkyria Chronicles I have heard of, actually, but never taken the time to play it. So yeah, it's looking unlikely that I'll talk about this game anytime soon. I haven't even heard of it or some of the series that you've listed there. So sorry, buddy, but yeah, I don't know, maybe someday, or if I get it as a donation on the rare chance. But yeah, I'm afraid to say that's not gonna happen anytime soon. G-Bon8 asks, what's the most rare game that you possess? Right, I'm not sure if this is necessarily rare, but it's definitely the oldest game I own. It's a Game & Watch of Mario's Cement Factory. Believe it or not, it actually does still work. It just doesn't have any batteries in at the moment because they drain quite a bit, and I don't really see myself coming back to playing it. It's still a pretty fun game, but it's just, I don't really see myself playing it for long sessions. So yeah, but this is still a pretty good game. Josiah Blackburn asks, what is your favorite game? I didn't used to have a favorite game, but yeah, ever since Persona 5 came out a few years ago, yeah, that has become my favorite game of all time. I absolutely love it, and I'm pretty sure those of you who are watching my Persona videos or just watching my channel in general are probably sick and tired of me talking about Persona 5. But I can't help it. I love it so much, and I really can't wait for Royal to come out in a few weeks. It's only been a year since it was announced, but god damn, it's felt like forever. I love the story, I love the characters, I love the gameplay, I love the setting, I love pretty much almost anything about it, except for Okumura's Palace. Screw that. Yeah, I absolutely love it otherwise, and I would highly recommend it if you haven't played it yet. CloudShines81 asks, will you ever get around to doing Trash or Treasure on Fortnite Battle Royale? Probably not in a million years, buddy, I'm afraid. Sorry to say. Yeah, I think everyone and their grandmother knows what Fortnite is at this point, and throwing my hat into the ring would just be entirely pointless, because I would just get absolutely swamped and piled over by other Fortnite videos you'll see on YouTube, so yeah, it just wouldn't really make much sense. Yeah, I like the game fine enough. I don't see it as a massive craze that it is at the moment. And I don't get why there are like tournaments being held for it and such, and where you win money. But do what you do. I mean, I enjoyed playing the game with my brother and sister as we're doing group matches, and on the rare chance I'll do a solo match as well, and get a few victory royales, which can be pretty gratifying when you do get it. But yeah, it's just a quick time sink, nothing more in my eyes. As I said earlier, I don't really get that attached to online multiplayer, so yeah, I just take it or leave it. So yeah, sorry for any Fortnite fans that are probably going to call me out for saying, no, it's not the best game ever. Whatever. But yeah, it's just, it's alright. It's alright. Blockheads asks, what motivates you to make these videos and what's your dream goal? Well, generally I make these videos because I find them fun to make, and I enjoy putting my voice out there on certain games, and just giving my honest opinions on it, whether it's good or bad, and just even if it's against what the general public think of the game. I just want to be as honest as possible. Obviously, the amount of subscribers I do have also helps motivate me to make these videos. Even if it's a small but purely dedicated fan base, I am absolutely grateful. And that's all I really need just to keep going. I mean, after all, I've been going for nearly 10 years now, so I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. No matter if my fan base is small or large, and if I start getting 100 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers, I'm just gonna keep going. Suspicious Ghoul asks, what's your day job? I actually just quit my day job a few weeks ago at WH Smith's, which if you don't live in the UK, then it's basically just a stationery store, very basic retail stuff. But yeah, it was just absolutely miserable. I didn't want to be there anymore. Just working in retail is absolutely soul-sucking. I get far too tired. And I just don't feel motivated to do anything, even just sometimes doing my reviews. So I left that and got another job as a receptionist. I won't say where exactly, but yeah, it pays a lot more than WH Smith's anyway, and the hours are a lot more consistent. So yeah, I won't have to worry about working around a tight schedule or just a very loose schedule, whichever it may be. Alright, this one is from Eric Rhodes, and it's not a particularly nice question. The last 5 years have not been kind to you. You look like you're in your 40s. What happened to you? You used to be so svelte and handsome.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Okay, let's just ignore that one and move on to the final question from Femor Elarena. Oh god, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. Do you have other creative projects outside of YouTube? Not necessarily, although I have been getting more and more interested in 3D printing. I don't own a 3D printer myself. I've mostly been observing or borrowing my brother's 3D printer, but I get fascinated with what you can actually make with it. Like over Christmas, I made my girlfriend Hannah the gunblade from Final Fantasy VIII from scratch. Had to print off various pieces together and glue them, and then use polyfiller to make sure there aren't any cracks or holes from the 3D printing. And just had to make sure it was nice and secure. And unfortunately, I don't have any footage, but you can actually spin the chamber, which was pretty neat. It wasn't the greatest build that we found online, but it was still serviceable, and then we managed to make it work just about. And then I even used a real chain on the end and attached it to the emblem, the Lionheart emblem, which was pretty cool. I was quite pleased with it overall. It's a shame I don't quite have the patience anymore to make one of my own and just stick it onto my wall, but I'm glad at least Hannah loved it, and I look forward to seeing it hung up on her wall. Aside from that, I also have the Evoker from Persona 3. This one I didn't print myself. This came as a kit, including electrical wiring, which allows you to turn on these little blue bits here. Yeah, unfortunately, well, this isn't the best room to show it, but yeah, these do actually light up pretty brightly as well, amazingly. But yeah, it's not perfect, unfortunately. The C's logo is a bit faded out. I think I might have sanded just a little too much. Yeah, just a little inscription there is a bit off. But yeah, it's a bit hard to do. It was a bit hard to do this whole bit anyway because of all the detail. But I'd say I'm still pleased with it overall. For my second project anyway, I'm still pretty pleased with it. Even if it's not perfect. May try again in the future, but just not bothering with it for now. I am impressed that there are little screws here that keep the Evoker together instead of just having to rely on glue and such. So if I ever need to take it apart and redo the wiring, then I can do that. Although this part is going to be pretty difficult to take off. It's quite sturdy, but yeah, quite pleased with it overall. Persona. Yeah, unfortunately no Persona came out, so I'm disappointed about that. And there we have it. That's all the questions I have, unfortunately. But this was really fun. I really enjoyed doing this, and I might do another one once I reach 5,000 subscribers, maybe, whenever that may be. But thank you to all of you who sent those questions to me. I really do appreciate it, and even if you didn't send in the questions, I'm glad for all of your support. And I'm just really touched that I've gotten this many subscribers now and this many people watching me. And as I said, this is what keeps me motivated to do these videos. And I will continue to do so until whenever, maybe probably until I die, hopefully. Yeah, but thank you all again anyway for just everything. And I really can't thank you guys enough. So with all that said, thank you all again once more, and hope you all have a good day, and take care. Enjoy the Katamari Damacy review and the Persona Q review when they come out. Take care.